fighting continues between American troops and soldiers loyal to Manuel Noriega.
As president, I have no higher obligation than to safeguard the lives of American citizens and to bring General Noriega to justice in the United States.
In today's video, we're going to talk about the unbelievable venture that included rescuing a CIA operative and spy from the notorious prison in Panama. What was Operation Acid Gambit? Operation Acid Gambit took place on the 20th of December 1989 in Panama, and it was a Delta Force operation that retrieved Kurt MUSE, an American spy. Kurt was living in Panama, and he was arrested for planning the overthrow of the Panama government. Because of that, he ended up in Cárcel Modelo, a notorious prison in Panama City. Unfortunately, at the end of the mission, there were 4 wounded people as well as 5 other casualties. So let's see how it all happened. Context. The operation occurred on the night of 20th of December 1989. At the same time, the United States invaded Panama to overthrow dictator Manuel Noriega.
To safeguard the lives of American citizens, to help restore democracy, to protect the integrity of the Panama Canal treaties, and to bring General Manuel Noriega to justice. All of these objectives have now been achieved.
The weird thing was that Noriega was considered the US's associate for a long time before the US turned against him. After Iran's Contra operation was uncovered, the US started turning its back on Noriega gradually. Some sources even suggest that Noriega was also known for drug trafficking. Relations between the two countries began to cool as time passed. It seemed the arrest of Kurt MUSE was the last straw. Besides being a CIA operative, Kurt MUSE owned a publishing company in Panama, and he was accused of espionage by the authorities, who also threatened to execute him. Firstly, MUSE served 9 months in Cárcel Modelo prison, but as relations between the US and Panama deteriorated, Noriega decided to take him hostage. The US obviously didn't like that and launched a massive counteroffensive as a result. Noriega promised that the first bullet fired in this conflict would be the bullet that eliminated MUSE. He also put one member of the Panamanian Defense Force in front of MUSE's cell, just to be sure MUSE was taken out before Delta Force arrived. Let's find out if he kept his promise. On the other hand, the US Army Delta Force took this task very seriously and trained thoroughly for months before launching an operation. Shortly before the operation, the colonel visited MUSE and explained the complicated situation he found himself in. He assured him that if anyone touches him, the US Army is going to eliminate every single person in that prison. Then he walked out, angry, as if he had just announced the start of the rescue mission. Plotting the operation. The Delta operatives made their plans according to reports of the American doctor who was nurturing MUSE. The doctor revealed MUSE's location and thoroughly explained the layout of the building to them. Delta Force's 2 troop, a squadron, had the task of rescuing MUSE, while 4 MH-6 Little Bird helicopters from the 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment, also known as Night Stalkers, would land 23 Delta operators on the roof of the building. Afterwards, the operators would breach the rooftop door and descend 2 floors to reach MUSE's cell. The assault force would then fly away on the Little Birds. Lieutenant Colonel Eldon Bargewell, a famous commando and A Squadron's commanding officer, was the operation commander. Besides him, Major Gary L. Harrell also led the operation. The Delta operators practiced the mission multiple times before they were ready to go. An icing on the cake was pre-staging at the Howard Air Force Base in Panama, which was close to the final destination. The operation was set to begin 15 minutes after the main invasion, as the operators wanted to use the surprise factor in their favor. The start and unfolding of the operation. 4 days before the Acid Gambit, Panamanian troops attacked a civilian vehicle with 4 American officers in it, which resulted in the assassination of one of them and injuring the other. That was obviously the match in the powder barrel, and it provoked a U.S. response. Finally, 1 minute before 1 a.m. on the 20th of December, the operation officially started as the assault force approached Modelo Prison. Meanwhile, 2 AC-130 Spectre gunships and several AH-6 Little Birds began simultaneously pounding the Commandancia to allow the inbound rescuers to do their task without attracting attention. During the shootout, one of the Little Bird's engines stopped working, which ended up in a bird crashing into the Commandancia. Although the crew survived the crash, they were in a huge problem. The Commandancia was planned to be leveled by AC-130 gunships as soon as the roof door to the prison was blown up. This meant that American troops were now in Noriega's headquarters building, minutes away from being destroyed along with it. On the way out of the building, one of the PDF guards surrendered to them and was extremely useful because he led them over the 12-foot or 3.6-meter wall they came across. Later on, one more problem occurred, as the team leader suddenly ordered one soldier and M60 gunner to leave the helicopter and stay on the roof, because the helicopter was unfortunately too heavy to take off. The two of them thought they were left out, and they found themselves in a very unenviable situation, cornered and surrounded by Panamanian soldiers. Afterwards, they found out that their team leader also stayed on the roof and that the helicopter is on its way to retrieve all three of them. The Delta Force rescue group approached the rooftop door while the security group provided covering fire, which resulted in taking out every guard nearby. Unexpectedly, the rooftop door was an ordinary door, so the special, powerful charge that was placed on it shook the whole building upon exploding. The rescue team successfully invaded the building and eventually burst into the three guards. They managed to eliminate two guards while cuffing the third one that was unarmed and who was the one who surrendered. In the meantime, one operator was asked to rope down from the roof to reach MUSE's cell window in order to try taking out the guard. Luckily, the guard wasn't even there, as he barricaded himself in the other room. Later that night, one of the Delta operators found and assassinated that guard. Extracting MUSE, the final task and a huge problem. The crew members tried shooting the cell door lock a few times, but it just would not break. So the operators placed a charge on the door of MUSE's cell and told him to hide in the bathroom area in order to avoid being hurt by the explosion. As soon as they entered the room, they provided the hostage with body armor, a ballistic helmet and goggles. They also called the orbiting helicopters for extraction. The operation was successful, but it was also exceptionally short, since it only took 6 minutes to finish everything upon landing on the roof. For them, these 6 minutes felt like an eternity, of course. However, it was not over yet, as the crew encountered vast problems shortly after taking off. The helicopter managed to reach the Howard Air Force Base, but encountered heavy enemy fire from below. One hit finished in the helicopter's engine, which forced it to fall to the ground. Immediately after crashing, the helicopter and the whole crew were under heavy fire. Few members of the crew were injured either by enemy bullets or by the crash itself. One man even took a hit to the head from the helicopter's rotor blade as he emerged from the wreckage. They managed to successfully leave the crash site's open area and reached the nearby building where they were positioned later. They managed to signal one of the gunships flying over the area with the infrared strobe light. Luckily, the column of armored personnel carriers from the 5th Infantry Division registered that and arrived on short notice and extracted them safely. After Operation Acid Gambit, the mission was accomplished, and it also had a very happy ending since there were no casualties when it came to the Acid Gambit crew. In addition, MUSE reunited with his family, while all the operators continued their careers in the Army. One of the wounded crew members not only continued his career, but managed to graduate from the Combat Diver School, which is considered one of the toughest special operation courses in the Army. It's important to state that this was the first successful hostage rescue mission of the U.S. Army's elite Delta Force. Prior to that, Delta Force had some unsuccessful missions, including the failed rescue of Americans held hostage in Iran in 1980. That fiasco initiated some great changes to the Special Operations Command structure, as well as forming the Night Stalkers. 10 years after the failed mission, the effects of changing the structure of command, as well as the vast value of the introduction of Night Stalkers, came to the surface. 7 years after the rescue, Kurt MUSE took part in writing a book titled 6 Minutes to Freedom, along with the best-selling author John Gilstrap. That's it for today's video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to leave a like and comment on this video. Also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you like what we're doing and you want us to continue with more cool content. Until the next time.